The US government ran a secret mind control program for 20 years. 150 Americans were test subjects. None of them consented. None of them knew. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's in the congressional record, thousands of pages, declassified. And the CIA spent 2 decades trying to burn every document that confirmed it. Here's what they were trying to build, and why the methods they perfected are still running on you right now. In April 1953, a CIA chemist named Sidney Gottlieb launched a classified program called MKUltra. He had direct authorization from CIA Director Allen Dulles. No congressional approval, no external review, no budget ceiling anyone could verify. The CIA had watched American POWs come home from Korea, making statements that looked rehearsed, denouncing the US, praising their captors. The agency concluded the Soviets had found a way to reprogram human beings. The mission was to control a human mind, not persuade, not influence. Control the way you control a machine. They wanted to erase a person's existing identity and replace it with one that served the agency's interests. They weren't trying to convince people. They were trying to make convincing unnecessary. The program wasn't run from a single lab. It ran across 150 sub-projects through 80 institutions, 44 universities, 12 hospitals, 3 prisons. The subjects included mental patients who couldn't refuse, prison inmates who were offered reduced sentences, and ordinary people who walked into a clinic for one reason and were given something else entirely without being told. Some experiments used LSD without the subject's knowledge. Others used sensory deprivation, hypnosis, electroconvulsive therapy at levels no ethics board would approve. Nobody was asking whether this worked. They were asking which method worked fastest. In 1977, Sidney Gottlieb was called before the US Senate to explain what he had done. He said, quote, "We had thought that we would be able to design some drugs which would provide absolute control of human behavior." End quote. That's not a confession of regret. That's a goal statement. The CIA didn't run the most extreme experiments directly. They found a psychiatrist in Montreal, gave him money through a shell organization, and let him do things they couldn't legally authorize. Dr. Ewen Cameron ran the Allen Memorial Institute at McGill University. He was not a fringe figure. He was president of the American Psychiatric Association, the most credentialed psychiatrist in North America at the time. Cameron had a theory. Mental illness was a learned pattern of behavior. If you erase the pattern completely, you could rebuild the patient from scratch, healthier, free of whatever had broken them. He called it psychic driving. Cameron's team sedated patients into a drug-induced sleep that lasted weeks. The same recorded messages were played on a loop up to 250,000 times while the patient was unconscious. When patients were awake, electroconvulsive shocks were administered at doses 2 to 3 times what any standard guidelines permitted. One woman checked into the institute in 1963 with mild anxiety. She was kept sedated for 35 days. When she woke up, she couldn't recognize her own children. She had lost her wedding, her children's childhoods, her own name. Her doctor had told her this was standard treatment. She wasn't unusual. Dozens of Cameron's patients left the institute with severe memory loss, permanent cognitive damage, or no functional personality at all. Several required lifetime institutional care. Cameron published his results in academic journals. The field applauded. Nobody outside the program knew what Cameron was actually doing, and informed consent wasn't a legal requirement in psychiatric care in the 1950s. He knew that. He used that gap deliberately for years at an institution that was considered among the most respected in the world. Cameron continued his work at McGill until 1964. His research was funded throughout by the CIA through a front organization called the Society for the Investigation of Human Ecology. The funding records were destroyed in 1973. His patient records were not, and his survivors spent the next 50 years suing the Canadian and American governments for what was done to them, and the agency's response to all of it was to destroy the evidence before anyone could look. So what ended the program? Not an internal review, not a Senate investigation, a filing mistake. In 1973, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered all MKUltra records destroyed. Most were, but a clerk had filed 20,000 documents in the wrong archive, a financial records vault the destruction order never covered. 4 years later, a researcher from the Church Committee found them while conducting a routine audit. That's the only reason we know any of this. No whistleblower, no journalist, a misfiled box in a records room no one was supposed to check. The Church Committee held public Senate hearings in 1977. Former CIA Director Stansfield Turner told senators that 150 research projects had been active. He could not tell them how many people had been affected because the records that would have answered that question no longer existed. The Senate committee could only work with the 20,000 pages that a filing error had saved. The surviving documents showed a confirmed program budget of $87 million across 20 years. $87 million to break the human mind, and that's only what they failed to incinerate. 20 years, 150 sub-programs, zero consent from the people inside them. The program officially ended in 1973. Officially. That word is doing a lot of work. The techniques didn't retire. The researchers moved on to other projects. What they learned about altering a person's behavior without their awareness went somewhere. Adjusted for inflation, that confirmed budget exceeds $900 million, and it only covers what the misfiled documents showed. The methods that program ran on unwilling subjects in the 1950s are the operating principles of every major attention platform built in the last 20 years. Repetition rewrites what you believe. Sleep disruption breaks down your ability to evaluate information. Replacing someone's social environment makes them accept a substitute reality. Infinite scroll removes your natural stopping cues, the moment you'd normally decide you're done. Notification timing disrupts sleep architecture. Algorithmic feeds replace your actual social environment with one selected for engagement, not accuracy. MKUltra spent $87 million in 1950s dollars developing these methods on unwilling subjects. The platforms running them today have market caps in the trillions. You agreed to the terms of service. How many of your beliefs were put there by someone who never asked permission? MKUltra didn't fail because the science was wrong. It failed because someone left the wrong box in the wrong file room. Next video, you've never actually remembered anything accurately. Scientists proved your brain rewrites memories every time you recall them. Every single time.